Today's episode is sponsored by the 2023 Rhode Island Business Summit, presented by Stella Business Concepts on September 21st at the Event Factory in Warwick, Rhode Island. Join us to connect with B2B vendors, amazing networking opportunities, and guest speakers like Patricia Raskin, who will talk to you about podcasting for your business, leadership with Mary Sullivan, or customer retention with me, Erica Sicosio, and more. We have panelists, and we also have a very fun, amazing lunch and learn with Rhode Island comic Poppy Champlin. Tickets are on sale now. Visit our website at www.stellabusinessconcepts.com. See you there. Hey guys, Erica Sicosio here with Practical Biz Podcast, and I am joined with today's guest, Patricia Raskin from Raskin Resource Productions. She is a podcast coach and consultant with 4 decades of experience to help you design, develop, deliver, or improve your on-demand podcast. She is nationally recognized, an award-winning radio producer, business owner, and leader, and not just a coach, but a practitioner, and has her own podcast show on Rhode Island PBS called Positive Aging. So welcome to our show.
Hey, Erica, nice to be here.
Yeah, super excited. So today, we want to talk about 15 tips on how you can grow your small business using a podcast. And so I thought Patricia would be the perfect person to be on our show because she has so many years of experience. I've just started not that long ago, just about a year. So we just thought that you could certainly bring in your expertise to the mic today. So as a small business owner, one of the things I really, really like about podcasting is the prospects are really listening. And unlike other forms of marketing or reaching out, especially like social media, where you're looking at clips and videos and we typically just get in the habit of scrolling through. What's so nice about a podcast is when your listener puts on those headphones, you have their undivided attention for 10 to 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how long your show is. And I feel like there's not a lot of other things out there right now in our busy world that really, keep somebody's attention that long, So on your show, or any of your shows that you have run or podcasts, tell me, what do you think about, or what do you find about the prospects listen to, and how that has driven your career?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things you said I want to comment on, that the beauty of the podcast is people listen when they can't watch. Now, today, of course, you can do podcasts that are video, which is what you do.
Sure.
But more people can listen, as I said, instead of watch. And they can walk on the beach, and they can listen in their car, and they can do their errands, and they can do their housework, or they can, whatever they're doing that's really going to allow them to listen and still be able to be mobile and move around.
Yeah.
So I think it gives people a lot of access.
Yeah.
And really what a podcast is it's a radio show. It's just online. So people then listen when they can't watch. And as I said, really a podcast is a radio show. It's just a radio show on demand. It's electronic. And it gives people just so much more access. I mean, we had the golden age of radio in the 1930s and 40s, and now we have the golden age of podcasts, which started in like 2019. And podcasts have grown. It was first 1 million podcasts, and it's like 5 million podcasts out there now. There's only about a 500,000 that are really active. But it gives everybody an opportunity to have this platform. When I started, you had to go to a radio station, or you could use community access, and that was mostly television. But today, if you have a message and you have a microphone and you have somebody helping you, or you can do the work yourself, you have the opportunity to get your message across in your own voice without the regulations that you'd have when you're on broadcast radio, which I was on. Broadcast radio, broadcast television, and then I went into the more alternatives, like internet radio, which is now podcast radio, or the same thing with being on YouTube. You don't have those restrictions. You don't have the time restrictions. So there's a lot of opportunity today. It's like self-publishing. 30 years ago, we didn't self-publish.
Sure.
Now you can self-publish and you can do well.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with podcast. If you have 20, 30,000, 40,000 listeners, those advertisers will find you. Now, that's a big number.
Yeah.
But there's an opportunity for you to be able to do that where there wasn't the same before.
Yeah. So, I agree with that. And then just that convenience. And we're so used to that, having convenience and everything right at our fingertips. So, as you said, it makes it really easy to connect with, new prospects. The other thing, too, I think, is the people are more qualified. So unlike putting an ad in a newspaper or running a commercial on TV, the people are choosing to be there and they want to hear your voice. They want to hear your message, or they're interested in what you have to say.
Yes, if you're targeted. And your show is a perfect example of that. You are targeting small business in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And those are your listeners. And the more targeted you are, the better, because there's so much out there. There isn't one thing for everybody. We all have our own interests. And so the more you can hit that hot button, what is it this person really wants to know, really the better. And I think your show is a shining example of that, Eric.
Thank you. I think, too, the other thing, it attracts high-quality customers and clients. So not only are they listening, but then when they reach out to you, the conversion rate is almost 100%, almost 100% for us, because they've tuned in for week after week. And they're like, this is a person I can work with. This is a person I like her style. And so when they call and they say, hey, I need help with a website, or I need help with podcasting or a video or any of those things, we've already have a relationship and I haven't met them yet.
And it's because they've gotten to know, like, and trust you. Because on a podcast, you can be more intimate. You can share more stories. We're often on broadcast radio or television. You have a message you're delivering, and there's time constraints, and there are sponsors and commercials. And it's not the same, where a podcast is more behind the scenes. And you're seeing a lot of newscasters, well-known newscasters, who are having their own podcast now. And they're telling you their own stories.
Yeah.
And people want to hear it because they like them. So I think what you're saying is so true, is that if they listen to you and they hear you, they say, I really like what Erica's doing, and that guest was excellent. I really liked her questions, and I'm going to call her.
Yeah.
So I think that really makes a difference.
Yeah. And going on what you said, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Kelly Bates, we love you. So maybe we could get you on our show. And I think the other thing that's really nice is, not only is it convenient for the listener, it's also convenient for the business owner, because you can shoot a podcast whenever it's convenient for you. Let's face it, small business owners, usually we're juggling a lot of hats, and they're like, Eric, you want me to add another thing? But really, this is a great way to do marketing. How much time are you spending posting on social media, or meeting with sales consultants on the next, newspaper, next magazine, next whatever you're going to, market.
Right.
And so this is a great way to do that.
It is. And the format is so fluid. So for example, let's say you might say, well, gee, I don't know if I can carry the show myself. I don't know if I can ask those questions. Get a partner. Work with someone else.
Co-host, yeah.
Right? Or, work in a team or a group. I mean, there's so many things. Or you may not be technologically oriented. Then get somebody to help you.
That's why we have Derek.
That's right. That's right. Play to your strength.
Yeah.
For me to spend all that time doing things technically, when my strength is interviewing and helping and coaching people, that's the best use of my time.
Yeah.
And so I think, don't let your weaknesses, if you will, stop you, because you've got a strength. Play to that strength and get other people who have the other strengths.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice, which is why we have Derek. And so for business owners that are out there, if you are not just Rhode Island, but Mass, within our drivable area, he'd be more than happy to connect with you. And he can also help produce. We're also building a studio downstairs. For those of you who watch all the time, you notice our background is different because we moved. We are building a full podcast studio downstairs and photography studio. So we do offer those services here at Stellar Business Concepts. I think, too, not only the flexibility when you're thinking from a marketing perspective, but also the budget. It is budget friendly. Now, yes, you can't, depending on many bells and whistles and, things that you want to do, but you can make it relatively inexpensive, or you can really tally up the bill depending on, what you want to do. But that would be the same for any marketing.
Yeah. And there are different software programs. There are different hosts where it's not expensive.
Yeah.
Right. Now, where the expense would come in is getting somebody to do the technical work for you. If you're really good at that, you can do it yourself. Or you can do trades. I mean, there's so many different things you can do with people.
You can barter with other business.
But you're right. It's very easy entry. Very easy to get in. And if you have a message, and the other thing I do want to share, Erica, that's really important is the power of the story. Because often when you listen to someone, you don't often always remember the fact, but you remember the story behind it.
Right.
Or you remember something they said that really grabbed you.
Yeah.
So the power of the story is important to keep that person's attention.
I even feel that on this side of the table, we've met so many cool business owners over the last year. So that has been really interesting, hearing their stories and how many things we all have in common. We have all the same challenges and struggles, running a business, so just that camaraderie to know you're not alone is I think helps.
I think that's been one of the greatest benefits that I've had over these 4 decades is the amazing people that I have met. Some have been friends, just over the years. And my work has been very positive as yours. So my shows have been called Positive Living or Positive People or Positive Business.
Yeah.
So that I'm interviewing people who are showing you what can work in your life.
Yeah. And
that is so motivating. And the friends you make and the people you're interviewing are all these amazing people.
Yes.
So, it really is an incredible tool. And then you have all that network. So now when someone asks you something, you know immediately because you probably interviewed them.
Yeah.
It's really been, I've interviewed about 5,000 people in 4 decades.
Wow.
And I still have my show on voiceamerica.com, which started out as an internet station and now a podcast network. And it's on all the Spotify and Google and all of those. Yeah. But it's like in its 22nd year. And what's wonderful about that is just the longevity of it and that those things get housed and they're stored and they're evergreen, like your show.
Yes.
And that's really terrific.
So, and that's another thing that is so different than if you're publishing an ad in a magazine, because that is time sensitive. It comes off the shelf at the end of the month and a new ad goes up. So this is a great way for customers to constantly find you and constantly learn about your products, your services, or your message, that you have.
Another great thing too, and I'm sure you do this, is you can listen to your interview and pull out those few things, and you can make a reel, put it on Instagram, or you can put it,
nuggets.
Those little golden nuggets that the person can listen to and say, I want to hear more.
Yes.
So it really, there's so much you can do.
Finding those golden nuggets for us.
Good.
I think too, if you get really good at it, you can have an additional revenue source. As you had mentioned, there are some sponsors. Now, I feel like, especially if you're really niched down, like we're B2B. And we're B2B in Rhode Island. So if you own a copy machine company, or you're an accountant, or somebody who is looking to get in front of 100, 200, 300 business owners every single week, to me, that makes sense, rather than just putting arbitrary reels out into the space of social and hoping that the people that are your target market find you. So it's so concentrated of who is listening. It's really easy to kind of turn that into a revenue stream.
Yes. And part of what's going to help you is getting those guests that also have big networks. Because when I was doing my program, I did a 13-week series that's now complete for Rhode Island PBS. Mm-hmm. And what I did is all of those people who were well known in the field, I would ask them to please make sure they posted it and got it online. And so that just magnified.
Sure.
It was my audience and theirs.
My 10,000, your 10,000,
exactly.
Their 10,000. Yeah. So that is
very
definitely
important.
A good way to and the other thing too is going on other people's podcasts that have the same message and the same listener demo, if you will, is a great way to also get your message across.
I say to people when I coach them and they say, well, I'm not sure. I say, what do you want to talk about? And then they'll tell me, and I'll say, go online. There are 5 million podcasts.
Yep.
And find those that are at the same topic as what you want and listen. Listen to 5 or 10 of them. And then and critique them. Well, I really like that. Oh, I didn't like. Why didn't you like that one?
Right.
Why did you like that one? What kept you there? And those are the things you want to incorporate and adapt.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think too, it's a great way to strengthen your public image, and then also show yourself as an authority. So we have this show, but I also have another show. And I don't even know that I even told you about, but I have a child care channel. And it's called the Child Care Director's Chair. And it's very industry specific. And it's national. It's not only for Rhode Island. It's any director at any Child Care USA to listen to that show and bring value. So there are multiple ways that you can get out your message. This is obviously, the show's a little broader because it's just small business, because they have many hats, and then they're industry specific. So if you're a landscaper, especially now, it's a great season to take care of your lawn, you could get on and do 8 podcasts. Doesn't have to be ongoing forever.
That's
8
right.
podcasts on how to take care of your lawn. What's the best seed? What's the best fertilizer? How do you irrigate? What type of water? What time to water? Right?
Yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah, and I always say, when you're coming up with questions, I use the word pain point. Not that we love that word.
Sure.
But what is it what questions do people ask you, Erica, all the time about childcare?
Yeah.
What's the same question? Gee, I have this problem.
Yes.
I don't know if I can find good childcare. Gee, my kid doesn't want to go to school. I mean, what are the things you keep hearing? That's what you want to address on your show.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for any small business owner, you can do that. And so maybe you do something fun and exciting. Like we had Chef Walters on a couple weeks ago, and he owns a cooking school, and he loves to teach people how to cook. And if you love culinary, he's the show to listen to. So yeah, I think too, not only in the business vein, but things that you may like that you can tap into as well. And I think we had talked about, just connecting with customers on a personal level is a great way to draw people to your business and find out a little bit more of what you're about. And a way to just share the information directly too. Mm-hmm. So, which is why we started this show, was I was a small business, 2019, small businesses were struggling. People started quitting their job, saying, hey, I think I'm going to keep the side gig and go for it. And so people started asking, like you said, those questions. And so this just seemed like the fastest way to get out the information.
Right.
And so you do that on your show too, talking.
Yeah. And what I do as a coach is, as I said, I've interviewed a lot of people and I coach, but I'll help people put together their podcast. So I'll say, what's your mission? What's your goal? What's the title for your show? Who do you want to have on? What are the kinds of questions? Why do you want to do this? What's your purpose?
Yeah.
And who do you want to reach? What's your end goal here? And you might say, well, I just want more businesses to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I want to align with more businesses. Your goal, everybody's goal is different, but you want to find out what is it that you want people to know. For me, it's very much about, I want to make the world a better place, and I want to show people what are those positive solutions. We all know what's wrong. Yeah. We all immediately, yes. You can tell me immediately what's wrong. But what's right? And we're not geared that way. We're not geared to always think positively. And I think in today's world, we need to be able to do that even more.
Yeah, I agree with that. So your brand is definitely about being positive.
When I started, as I said 4 decades ago, people laughed at me. They said, you're talking, people, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. They don't want to hear this positive stuff. Now they do.
Yeah. Yeah, more now than ever, right? The whole world is, trying to figure that out. So I think it's a great way to also create opportunities outside of your podcast, like getting on a larger stage. So especially authors, you'll see people who, as you said, self-published people, you will find on every podcast because they go knocking on the doors. Same thing with coaches. So there are certain industries that you almost have to be on a podcast to reach the right people. So I see that a lot with coaches and authors of books.
And you can turn your podcast into a book too. It can become a blog. Yeah. It can become chapters. So it's very, very versatile.
Yeah. You could share show notes on your website.
Right.
And those things help increase traffic to your website. So when we pull up our stats, I think 30% of the people who come to listen to our show visit through our website. Mm-hmm. So, and that, if you can drive traffic like that, no reel is doing that. This is week after week after week. And again, as you said, evergreen, it's constantly advertising for our business. So,
and sometimes I'll say on my show, I know the show is evergreen, but you're listening, in April of 2023. And right now, this is what's going on. So we're talking about the situation, but it's still evergreen in terms of the content.
Yeah.
You know, like something might have happened.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that what you're talking about around it isn't
Right,
for
because those
everyone.
things can change. Yeah, definitely, especially in our field of childcare. Our industry and our regulations change very regularly. So if you're still not convinced as to why podcasts work, so I'll share a few things. First of all, podcast listeners, they are loyal. They are affluent. Many are educated. 44% women, 56% men. So that's kind of the breakdown. Also, I think there were some stats that you had as well in terms of the ages.
Yeah, and it's different, you know, and they change I'm telling you.
They're changing right now.
2022, right? I mean, what I'm going to share with you is, you know, actually 2022. And so let's see what I have here. Let's see, 62% of Americans age 12 and over have listened to a podcast in 2022, up from 57% in 2021. 41% of Americans age 12 and over have listened to a podcast in the last month. 28% of Americans age 12 and over have listened to a podcast in the past week. More than 80% of podcast listeners, which is 82.4 to be exact, spend upwards of 7 hours in an average week listening to their favorite podcast app.
That's more than I watch TV for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're usually 20 to 40 minutes long. I mean, we can go over and, you know, we can go, I mean, there's so many more.
Well, that's
here.
okay. Well, you're going to.
I got this from, this is by Neil Schaefer, Schaffer, and it's called the top 25 podcast statistics you need to know in 2023.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that resource. Also, household income, 75,000 or more. So again, if you're looking for customers, this might be a great way. If you're looking to build your brand, this is a great way, podcasting. If your marketing budget is shrinking because all of our overhead is growing, podcast is a great way to do it. So I just want to recap before we wrap it up, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to touch on anything I didn't, because I think that we covered a lot. So I'm just going to do these tips so that we're going to put them up on the screen for you. Number 1, prospects are listening. Number 2, you reach more qualified prospects. Number 3, you attract high quality customers and clients. Number 4, it can fit into a busy schedule. Number 5, it is a cost-effective marketing that is easy on your budget, as long as you don't add too many bells and whistles. It can be an additional revenue stream for your business. Oh, and it's fun. We forgot that part. It's fun, and it is a great way to network with other business professionals in your area or even throughout the country. Podcast popularity is soaring, so people continue to clock in there, maybe more so than TV and certainly more than print at this point. It can help you strengthen your public image and your authority in the field. It can help you connect with customers so that they can learn a little bit more about you on a personal level. It's a great way to share direct information. Like I said, that example, if you have how-to videos or podcasts in your industry, how to set up XYZ, how to take care of your lawn, how to pick the best daycare, whatever your industry is, you can do some how-to videos. If you're not super seasoned at talking on the mic, those are easy enough because you talk about those things every day. It gives you an opportunity to speak on a larger stage, shows you as an authority. It's also a great way to build up social media content. A lot of people that we talk with say, oh my God, this is so hard to post every day, every hour. Like, where do you even come up with the ideas? So it's a great way to have a great mix. As you guys said, you can turn it into blogs. You can do little audiograms. You can make reels. There's 1,000 things you can do with one podcast. You probably can pull out 7 or 8 pieces of content from one short 10-minute podcast. Helps you build your brand, and it will increase website traffic and content for your website. So those are all the things. Is there anything that you feel like that we didn't touch on that you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
You know, I don't think so. I think the main thing to remember is, do you want to do this? Are you doing this? If you're doing this just for money, it's like writing a book just for money. That's not going to work. Yeah. It really has to be because unless you're very well known, you probably won't make a lot of money at it in the beginning. Yep. And it's all about the numbers of listeners, Erica. It's very much like selling a book. How many books have you sold? How many listeners do you have?
Yeah.
And you can build that on your own. So it's having a purpose. It's really knowing why you're doing it, who's going to listen, and why are they going to listen. And also, as you said, the personal benefit of the networking and meeting people and just sharing this. You know, it's just a wonderful opportunity that we didn't have 20 years ago. We had these opportunities, but not as much as now, because now everybody can be in this.
Yeah. I think there was one thing that you said about with the numbers too. The other thing I want people to really take away from is those are real people. So if you have 100 people, 150 people, right? Because we get stuck on these really high numbers, 150 people that are in your area that want to do business with you. If I walked into your store with 150 people, they were all ready to do business with you, you would find that successful.
Exactly.
Right? So take the numbers, as you said, what is your point to do it? If it is, as a small business owner, to connect with customers and you get 150 customers, that's a great number, right? So, and have fun. For God's sakes, have fun.
And it's getting people to know, like, and trust you.
Yeah.
And in today's world, trust is so important.
Absolutely.
So this is really a big part of it. Yeah. And they can certainly find me, Patricia, at patriciaraskin.com. And as I said, I help people to produce their podcasts, and I do my own.
Right. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, but you're not sure how, you can contact Patricia. She can help you think through your show, how to set it up, how to write everything, the title,
Find the guests,
all of it, all the stuff, how to line up the guests. She can help you with all of it, executing that part. If you need help with the editing, recording, not sure you want to buy equipment, just need a space, want to come in and do that, we can do that at Stellar Business Concepts. And if you're really interested in podcasting, Patricia will be joining us at our 2023 Rhode Island Small Business Summit at the Event Factory in Warwick, Rhode Island. You can get tickets on our website. And she's going to talk a little bit more about podcasting there. And so that's it. So thank you for tuning in to Practical Biz Podcast. Thank you. See you later. Bye. Are you a business owner? Are ready to get your startup? Well, started. Have a burning question you'd like us to answer? Want to know more about the services we offer? Or register for upcoming workshops and events? Looking to book a guest speaker? Or would like to be a guest on the Practical Biz podcast? Visit our website at stellarbusinessconcepts.com.